It's the fall of 2019. We have already seen what seems to be the most of this year's release in terms of smartphones, with some exceptions. Shockingly enough, leaks for the next year have already started to emerge, and in this video I will be trying to cover them all. Maybe the biggest leak regarding the next year's iPhone is one surfaced by the now controversial leaker Ben Gaskin. He suggests that next year's iPhone will have a so-called infinity display with no notch and no bezels in general. More trusted sources have already debunked this possibility. Some people were actually mad at Gaskin because it might have been just a publicity stunt for him, but hey, we can still hope. What we actually know about the next year's iPhone is that it will probably have some design aesthetics borrowed from the iPhone 4, a phone praised for its looks even by today's standards. Other than design, we know that next year's model should be a big leap in every sense possible, including some extra features like ProMotion display, which means 120Hz refresh rate, a glowing Apple logo, fingerprint scanner under the display, and many other things that I might get into more in depth in a future video. The trend for 2020 phone leaks seems to be notchless and bezel-less phones, and the Samsung phones make no exceptions to this rule. Samsung even has a patent for a phone with a secondary display on the back. We have already seen stuff like this in Vivo phones and more recently from Xiaomi. The next Samsung flagship will be an incremental upgrade from the S10, maybe a smaller punch hole, smaller chin, but other than that we will be seeing things like Snapdragon 865, faster fingerprint scanner, and probably bigger batteries, as Apple is starting to catch up in this department as well. There are even some rumors that Samsung might merge the S series and the Note series as they start having more and more similarities, something that even Xiaomi seems to be doing right now. The next device from Google is the closest one to be released, but we will still go over some of its features. By now, we are pretty sure about what the devices are going to look like. By some, it might be seen as a step back, but Google is done with notches, at least for this year. They will be able to justify the big forehead as they will have one of the best face unlock technologies, similar to the iPhones, but on top of that, it will feature a solid chip that will register very subtle hand gestures. When it comes to OnePlus, they are doing something pretty weird this year. They have already hosted an event for the OnePlus 7T a couple of days ago, but we saw no OnePlus 7T Pro. That's because they will unveil it on the 10th of October in London. We know that the OnePlus 7T already inherited most of the selling features of the OnePlus 7 Pro, like the camera and the 90Hz display, so what's left? It seems like OnePlus has left its Pro model for a later date, as it will be a bit underwhelming. It will have a Snapdragon 855 Plus chipset and a better macro mode, just like the OnePlus 7T. That's it. That's all that's new with the OnePlus 7T Pro. Huawei has just unveiled their Mate 30 series of phones, so this gives us quite an image for the next year's model. Starting with a redesign on the back, probably a circular camera cutout that houses 3 cameras and maybe even a pop-up camera just like the OnePlus 7 Pro. The most unfortunate information is that the next phone might not support Android system but rather Harmony OS, the operating system that Huawei has been working on since the US ban. Xiaomi is bringing some mixed feelings to the table. We now have one of the most beautiful phones ever presented, the Mi Mix Alpha, but at the same time that's just a concept for now, and yeah, it will cost around $2.8K. Xiaomi has already confirmed that there is no Mi Mix 4 coming, so officially the Mi Mix line will be from now on the line that Xiaomi uses for concepts. We end up this massive leak video with maybe one of the most expected phones of the year, Pocophone F2. By now almost everyone has lost any hope for this phone to come out, but some of us are still dreaming about the flagship killer that it was last year. Its place was kinda taken by the Redmi K20 Pro and the Mi 9T Pro, but those are a bit more expensive phones. All hope is not lost though, as recently there seems to be a supposedly accidental tweet from Xiaomi India's managing director, where we can clearly see the term F2 being used on a whiteboard. Which phone are you waiting for the most? Leave a comment down below.